All right, Whit Norris in Georgia, in Atlanta. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I saw earlier today your governor's declared a state of emergency because Irma's rolling in, but it doesn't look like you're really seeing anything right now.
no, not yet. I mean, it'll be sometime this evening, but they're expecting 30 to 60 mile an hour winds. And of course, in the southeast with all the trees, I expect to see a lot of trees down. And of course, then that will take out power lines and power. And we may not be shooting tomorrow. We're waiting for a email to confirm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how does that I would imagine that really throws a wrench in the machine of production.
Yeah, it becomes a liability, I think, with them, bringing people out and, if there is, with the state of emergency and things like that. So I think they can file an insurance stay is probably how they'll play it.
Oh wow, wow. So you've got you're pretty busy, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you doing like two things right now, or?
No, I'm doing just Godzilla right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Oh man, I wish I were down there. One of my sons is a huge Godzilla fan.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, this is the unofficial title is Godzilla King of the Monsters.
oh,
So it's being done by Legendaries, which, did Skull Island. So they're bringing all of that back. And, complete with the whole Godzilla background with the Monarch base and, who they monitored the monsters and all of that. So it's actually it's really cool.
so like, I'm assuming you can't really talk about a whole lot, but like, is like Godzilla going to be fighting like Kong and all this other stuff? Are they creating like a cinematic universe with this?
Yes, they are. They're creating a universe with it. I think I can say that. I think the next film might involve Godzilla and Kong. But this is, I think I can safely say, no, we won't put this on the record, but I can safely say Godzilla is battling some of his old foes.
Oh, cool. Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
So you probably got to get your boom mop up on a ladder if you're going to be booming Godzilla.
Well, we have to bring in a lift and to bring us all the way up to put the wireless mic on Godzilla.
But he's so big, it's probably easy to hide, right? Once you get
yeah, absolutely, yeah. We painted it all green.
Yeah, and it's like on I was trying to think like what kind of funny things can I say that Whit hasn't heard about Ant-Man. Like, oh, did you have to shrink your boom mop down? And
what was funny on Ant-Man when they were doing some of the miniature work, they actually had a miniature slate that was about this big.
Oh, really?
They would go in, and also, I don't know if you know, with visual effects, generally after we do a shot, if visual effects are involved, we bring in what they call the balls, which is a big shiny ball, and they film it, and it shows where all the light sources are, and then they flip it to a dull side. They spin it around and shoot the dull side, which is for ambience, I guess. And but we're always, shooting the balls. But on Ant-Man, they made a little tiny miniature ball to put into the miniature sets to get all the reflections and everything for all the visual effects.
Wow, that's crazy because that one, we watched it. It was a fun movie. We really liked it. And I mean, it's just like logistically, like when you're shooting that, well, I guess they've done a lot of previs and a lot of stuff ahead of time to kind of know, okay, this is what we got to do. But it's still got to be a massive challenge. I mean, You really don't know until you start cutting away and start getting it into post.
Yeah, but previs is pretty big on most of the pictures I work on now. It was really big on Fate of the Furious, and it's big on Godzilla right now, and of course it was big on Ant-Man. But yeah, they plan everything out, and you really have to have a real plan and follow your storyboards on things that are so massive and have so many elements.
Yeah, I was thinking about that with to be honest with you, I haven't seen a lot of the Furious, the Fast, it's like there's a lot of movies I want to see, we just don't have time. Yeah. But it's just like you see these massive stunts being like, just like, did they sit around one day going, okay, what kind of crazy dumb thing can we come up with? You know, cars coming out of planes, and you know, like how can we step it up?
Yeah.
And like when you're doing those, like are you there on those days?
So, some of the times, yeah. I mean, we have stunt units, but anytime the actors are involved, I'm there.
Okay.
I would say that's true 95% of the time. But yeah, because they want to, marry the actors to the stunts, and so so we're always involved when the actors are involved. Now, obviously, they have stunt units, and generally the actors aren't involved with the stunt units. It's stunt players and doubles and things like that.
Wow. Wow. But you've been in this game. I'm looking here on IMDb. Future Zone is your first credit from 1990. Do you remember much about that?
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was. I was in my early 20s. I want to say. I think I'd worked as a grip on a movie prior to that, a real movie. I mean, obviously there were, people think projects that I worked on that were shorts and things and trailers and things like that. But I'd done a lot of commercial work and done documentaries and industrials and bad car commercials and things like that. And I mean, I knew how to record sound, for picture, but I'd never worked on a movie before. And basically the sound guy left or was fired. I'm not really sure. The story goes, they gave him a ticket to go home on a Greyhound bus.
Oh my gosh. It's like he's a member of Metallica or something. That's good.
Yeah. that's I don't know if that was really true or not. And I came in and it was a total rental package. A 4.2, a Sela mixer. I think I had a 416, a 816, 2 Vega wirelesses with trams, and that was my package.
Wow.
And some cable. And 1 boom pole.
Wow. Yeah, David Carradine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Wow, I've never heard of this movie before.
Oh, no, you probably would. It was a very B movie. The company, it was Action International Pictures. They would basically bring in at least a name or two, and they made all their money. They did pre-sales overseas.
Oh, okay.
For a lot of it, and then videotape release back in those days. And so, yeah, that was it. And I had never seen a formal sound report. Okay, but there's this stack of sound reports, and I was looking at them, and they were carbon, the 4 copies, and it's like, okay. So I had to figure out how to use the sound report. I wasn't going to ask anybody. But in the commercial work and stuff I had, there really weren't sound logs at that time, or that I had experienced. And so anyway, I learned how to do a sound log on that show.
Wow. Wow. So, like, did you always want to get into production, or because like so many people, like I hear different stories. Oh, I fell into it, or like I originally wanted to do this, and it just kind of happened.
Yeah, I mean, my story goes back to I wanted to work in radio. Okay, I had a real passion for music and in radio. There was a great. I grew up in Birmingham, and there was a great album rock, deep classic. I mean, played obscure stuff as well as the popular classic stuff. But it was a K99 WRKK, and I'd fallen in love with the station growing up, and I really wanted to go work in radio. So one of the colleges I went to had a campus radio station, and so I immediately got involved in that. I was a film communications major, but didn't really care anything about film or the television side of it. Yeah, I had to take the classes and do the work and stuff, but I was at the campus radio station pretty much every minute when I wasn't working. I learned how to cut 1/4 inch and card up spots and PSAs, which is what you did as a campus radio station, and started learning, production from that side. And I wanted to go work in radio. Well, a couple of things happened after a couple of years in college. I became the station manager at one time, and of course still had a show or whatever. We all did DJ shifts and everything. And I was trying to get an internship at like the largest radio station in the Southeast, which was WZZK. It was a big country station. I mean, it was one of the largest and had the meetings for many, many years. I didn't get the internship.
No.
And during this process, though, I had gained an internship at a production company. Some guys I met, the story is through a haunted house at Halloween. They needed people to work in the haunted house. One of the young ladies I worked with, that was a friend at the campus radio station, boyfriend was one of the camera assistants and an off lecturer there. But she had said, look, they need people to work in the haunted house and they'll pay. It's like, oh, you're a kid in college, they're going to pay me to scare people? This sounds great. So I would go there every night, and I would go down early, and I'd always bring a few other people from school with me, and we'd work in the haunted house every night, during the Halloween season. And a lot of the effects and a lot of the personnel behind the haunted house worked at a production company, and they knew how to rig all the lights and scary stuff and, all the creative stuff, I guess, that goes into a haunted house, as well as the technical stuff. And so they invited me. I guess I impressed them to a certain point, and they invited me to come down and look at their studios. They had a big cyc wall studio and another studio, and they actually had film cameras, and they had video cameras, and they had 1-inch editing and 3/4 offline editing, and they did commercials and spots and, just a lot of production work. And I fell in love with it. I thought, oh, this is great. And since I had a sound background, I started gravitating towards it, plus working in the tape room. And the joke was I assembled the film and tape library as an intern, so they had to give me a job. I was the only one who knew where anything was.
Nice.
But when this was all happening, that's when I lost the internship at the radio station. And I did work I did do some overnight work at a golden oldie station, on air work. And but then I fell so much in love with the production and doing sound for picture. That's where I went. And basically the same thing that had happened at the campus radio station. Every minute that I wasn't in school or doing something else, I was there.
Oh, wow.
Doing something. There was always something to do, something to work on. They also did a lot of side projects of shooting shorts and things for fun. Because everybody at whatever level they were a passionate filmmaker. So anyway, does that kind of tell my background a little bit?
Yeah. No, I always like hearing how people got into, the industry, because we all have a different story, and I find it really interesting. And I think a lot of people we can all learn from each other. It's like, because nowadays it's like when you could go and get a degree in film sound, or you can, all these things that just didn't exist even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And, but in a way, I almost feel like, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because there's so many people start flooding the market. I want to do sound. I want to do film sound. And when I started in Los Angeles, I wanted to do post-production work.
Well, that's kind of how we met originally. When you were working at Coffee and you had a home studio. Yeah.
I had my own little Pro Tools LE rig at home, and you were out shooting, I think it was the Amateurs or something.
Yeah.
And
you helped with the voiceovers, yeah.
Yeah, helped with just editing some voiceover stuff. And but it was like that was when I came out to LA. It was the fall of 2001. And that's when we started seeing more and more people coming out with a degree, and we all want jobs, and the people we were learning from, they were like, why are there so many of these guys? Because where I was interning, they would, this was at Dade Tracks in West Hollywood, and they would, their internship program was like, oh, we'll take anybody, like just anybody off the street. You can come in, we'll teach you how to use Pro Tools,
right.
And then when I was there, they changed it because so many people were wanting, because they had done the Matrix movies. And when I was there, they hadn't started on the second one quite yet, but then they started doing it. And it's just so many people I want to sit in an edit room with Dane Davis, he's got an Academy Award sitting right there. And it's like, I got to do that, but it got to be so competitive, and the guys that have been doing it for a while kind of almost, not all of them, but some of them got to be kind of cold towards us younger people.
Yeah.
I don't know if they saw us as a threat to their jobs or what. It was a little tough, but it's like once you crack that nut, then and get some of them to warm up to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just hearing, how everybody kind of got into it, because some people just kind of fall into it. Some are like, oh yeah, I've been, went to college for it. And so, yeah, I really dig hearing everybody's kind of origin story,
Well, something that I guess it doesn't really matter anymore these days, but when, I was early in my career, it was still film, still a lot of film. The production company that I started out with, which was called Air Mobile Productions, they had one large client, and that was Ringling Brothers. And so we shot all the footage for the circus. We shot their industrials, all their broadcasts, and of course part of the editing job was to tag, tickets on sale now in Nashville or Atlanta or whatever, to put up the Chiron and all that. And so we were there. That was the main client there. Well, eventually they ended up dropping the production side. It was, I guess, probably mismanaged financially, and just became an editorial house. So it put most of us out on the streets, so to speak. Well, Ringling Brothers did not want to lose some of the creative side, which was the guy who directed the commercials, who was from the Air Mobile Productions. And basically they wanted to kind of keep a group of us around that had been doing all their work. And so I got to go to New York for about 8 months, basically archiving all of their film, from going all the way back to the 40s, maybe it was even the 30s, I'm not sure.
Wow.
But they had down in a film vault at Bell and Howell, I want to say 150 boxes of 15, 35, mag, everything. So I obviously didn't quite know how to deal with all that, but I had a great teacher who was a part of our group, and we would basically bring up the boxes to our corporate New York apartment. We had sound readers, the viewers, splicers, everything. I learned how to hot splice film and repair it and clean it.
Wow.
And learned how to do the sound readers, which, doesn't matter anymore. Nobody does it this way, but I did learn the old school way in my early 20s. It was kind of fun being in New York at that time, which was 86, 87, something like that. But I learned the old way of doing it too. And in a way, I became unofficially a Ringling Brothers historian, because of learning all the years and all the decades in the circus, because we had to catalog it. And I also would supervise the syncing and transfer to 1-inch back at that time, so they could have it archived. And it would have to make all the notes as to what year and which circus it was, because they had a red unit and a blue unit. And also they did the Walt Disney Ice shows, which we actually shot those also for their commercial spots and things like that. But anyway, that's history. Nobody cuts film anymore or syncs mag. Nobody knows what a mag track is.
Yeah, well, it's definitely cool to learn that. At least, I don't know. I think there's value in learning how to do it. We, in college, before we were doing anything in Pro Tools, one of our first projects was cutting 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it was like, this was 99, 2000, not really, it was still kind of happening, but not really as much. But it was like, okay, pick a song, any song that you want. This was our project, was, pick any song you want and make it fit for a 60-second spot and a 30-second spot. Like if they were commercials, you're going to transfer it from CD. MP3s really weren't a thing yet. You transfer it from a CD to 1/4 inch, and then you're going to cut it. And the edits have to be good. Like you can't just, it has to sound.
Right. Now, here's a real question, Dave. Do you still have your editing block to cut and splice with? I still have mine.
No, we did it all on the 1/4 inch machine at the school. Like I don't have.
So you used the razor blade and the block. Okay.
Well, no, we had the razor, but it was all built into the machine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. We did all that. Like, just pull it off.
Yeah. Put it there. Yeah.
But it gives you a real sense of it gives you an appreciation for like cutting in Pro Tools, and like the massive amount of time and labor that you save. Because when I was working at Technicolor and I was working on a video game, and we're like, okay, we have to they were had some rock songs that they were putting in. Okay, we either need to replace the swear words with the clean version, or we need to cut it, all this stuff. And I just remember thinking, boy, I'm glad I'm not doing this on 1/4 inch, But it's like, but the tools even around to teach students now that it's like they don't even really work anymore, you know.
Well,
But,
most people don't even know what quarter inch is.
and it's so, you know, I'm getting to that stage in life where I'll make references to things like that, or a lot of the people I work with are a lot younger than me, and I'll make a reference to, like, you know, shows from the 80s when I was a kid, G.I. Joe or Transformers, and they're like, what? And I'm like, oh. I'm becoming that. I'm the old guy now, and I'm not even 40. But yeah. So, but what's like, what is your, like, over the course of your career, like, what's your favorite piece of equipment? And it's kind of a hard one to nail down, but
I mean, I think I don't think there's one piece, but I think during different parts of my career, there were different recorders, and I'm going to go with recorders because that's the basis of what I work with. I mean, obviously, all kinds of wonderful microphones, but I'm going to say first, you know, is the Nagra. I mean, my timecode Nagra was just a piece of work. I still have it. It's under glass in my little workshop, but that was just a beautiful machine. But that was, you know, that was in the 90s, we'll say. And then after that, we went into DAT. I can't say I had a favorite machine. That was a DAT recorder. No love there. And I would say then the next machine that I had some love for would have been the Diva 2. But then my real love became the Diva 16. So truly, I still think one of Zaxcom's best recorders they ever made. And then as of right now, in the last couple of years, my favorite thing is the Kantar X3, which I think is one of the most powerful recorders that's ever been created for production sound use.
wow.
Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. So it's more of not a single piece, but it's more of like
different stages of your career as technology developed. But I can't say there was one that was overall, but there were certain times that, you know, it was definitely the love and the heart, you know.
Yeah. So it's mainly like the recorder is really whatever it happens to be at the time, you know. In 5 years, it could be something crazy new. But
but you know, like I said, there was no love with the DAT machine. I can't say you know, that wasn't there.
Yeah, that was like the DATs were kind of this odd bridge, you know. It was the first digital stuff, but it was still tape, and it had its limitations. And when I came into the production sound world, it was the Diva 2 was really starting to make a name for itself, but there were still a lot of people rolling Nagras because I sold. Yeah, I had Coffee Sound. I sold a ton of Nagra tape, sold a ton of DATs, and then it was like, what are these DVD RAMs? You know, what are these things? What do I do with these? And post houses like that. For 2 years, it was, you know, going to post houses to help them figure out, like, what do I do with this? And
there was a lot of education with post on the Diva 2. Them how to use it and how to transfer it, and what a timestamp was.
Yeah, and that was that's the funny thing is it's like the Nagra or like linear technology was so established for so long, for decades, and it's like all of a sudden here's this new completely way of doing these things.
And nobody was willing. Well, not say they weren't willing, but I want to say Post was reluctant to think out of the box and want to move forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember. You know, I was a 22, 23-year-old kid. And for me, that's all I knew was not that that's all I knew, but that's how I had always worked in terms of working. You know, we had at Dane Tracks, we had recorded sound effects on the Nagra and the DAT and the Diva, but they always just threw the Diva stuff at me to deal with for whatever reason, you know. And so I knew the Diva better than I knew the Nagra or the DAT when I first got hired at Coffee. So it was odd for me to see this resistance because I just didn't know at the time. I didn't know that these guys have been doing this for 20 years and they're like, why would I ever want to, you know, can I just hit a play button? And it's like, nah, man, they're files. Like, what? And then it was like, but it's MARF. Like, it's this format we can't even read.
Yeah. And then it's, why do we have to change?
Yeah, why do we have to change? Because this will save you like a ton of time, and now it's just standard.
Yeah.
So
Well, you're talking about saving time, and we're talking about post and syncing and transferring. I want to bring this up. Back 15, 20 years ago, if there was a time code issue, something was incorrect, whether it be on the recorder or camera, it was not a big deal. They would just sync it off the sticks, right?
Right.
No problem. And most guys back then that were doing transfers or sound transfers and syncing could do it very quickly. They either saw it on the scope or could do it, and did it by eye between the sticks. That they could do it very quickly. But now I'm discovering if there is some type of time code failure, which I get these guys budget jobs based on time to transfer the dailies and that. And I understand what companies like C3, who are great, and the others that deal with this. So, because all they're doing now is taking the camera time code and the sound time code, loading them in, and it's automatic. Nobody has to physically sync anything, right?
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes, whatever, the camera didn't get jammed properly, something happened, and they have to go in and manually sync, either off the timecode slate or sticks. And what's the best? It's a meltdown. Because nobody is experienced, and this is because they haven't had to do it. And it's, of course, a new generation of people and everything in post. And I met a lot of them at the beginning of the current job I'm on. They came out to the set, and it was good because I've been actually dealing with these guys on quite a few films, and I just had never, between emails and phone calls, I'd never met them, but it was great to meet them. And then I realized how young they all were. And then I understand, okay, you've never had to sync off sticks or a time code slate, really. So when something happens and there's something incorrect, and I'm going to be a little arrogant, it's not on my end.
Yeah, well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the time code's right on what I'm turning in. It's usually because something happened with the camera. It's why the time code's off, and I'm not blaming the camera department, but sometimes like on the Aries, if you go shoot 48 frames and you go back to 24, you have to rejam the camera, things like that. Sometimes things like that happen, or sometimes a camera resets or gets unplugged from the battery or power supply for so long, and so there's sometimes issues that do happen. But the thing about it is, I always try to send them an email when we discover it happened, just to give them a heads up that all of a sudden you're going to have to sync off sticks or off the timecode slate, because then it becomes a very time-consuming process compared to loading in the two files and hitting a button, chase the timecode and sync.
Yeah, it's like all the videos that I do, because I do a lot of videos for work, and I'm like, I can manually sync these things. I'm not shooting a movie here. I have like 2 takes. If I'm doing sync sound, a lot of my stuff is like VO with images or video over the top. So it doesn't matter. But I read a lot of stuff now, and because I'm involved in a lot of social forums and stuff where people talking, and it's a lot of people that are starting out learning, and they're what's with time code, and I'm so used to using pluralize. I don't want to have to manually sync.
Well, I was about to bring pluralize up. Yeah, that's another thing that's changed how people's workflow is. Yeah,
and it's funny when someone's like, wait a minute, I got to manually sync this? I'm like, yeah, it takes me about 5 seconds. It's not that hard. My oldest son, who's 16, he's starting to shoot a lot of his own videos and stuff. He just figured it out on his own. I didn't, show him how to do it. I figured out how to manually sync on his own. It's not that tough, but it's like intimidating, and it almost in a way. But to me, I'm like, man, there's like way less stuff involved. It's like, oh, cool. I don't have to worry about frame rates. It's like you just line up the waveform and the thing, and you're off.
Talking about something else, this project that I'm on, and there's some other projects with spoken with some other friends. They're now we're now doing true 24.
Oh, wow.
Not 23,976 or 98 or whatever you want to call it. But on this project, we're actually, and this all came from post. This was post-driven. I thought it might have been a visual effects thing. I wasn't quite sure where it, was coming from. Because I just asked a few questions just out of curiosity. And I had another friend on a project he just completed a month or two ago. They shot true 24. But now there's a push going to that, which I think is kind of interesting. I don't know if it really has something to do with the release, that when it's going to be released in the theaters, that it's going to be 24 at that point, or what it is. But I'm a new workflow that I'm trying to figure out why they've decided to go with it after, all these issues with pull downs, pull ups, HD, film, projected. Anyway, but I just thought, I didn't know if that was going on out there. And
no, I didn't.
These are major productions that are doing this. That this workflow has been set up by Post.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard that, and it was always one of the questions I got the most was like, what frame rate should we be at? Camera says they're rolling at 24, and I go, wait, do they mean 24? Or do they mean 23,976? That's something you need to ask. Okay, I'll call you back like 5 minutes later. They're not sure. How was that?
Well, that's why I'm always very specific in emails when I'm starting a project.
Yeah.
I never use the term 24 unless it's really 24. It's 2398 or 976 is really how I like to call it. But that confuses people too, because I think Sony back years ago, with some of their first HD cameras, started calling it 2398, which they rounded it off, which
right.
But prior to that, it was always 23976 to be precise. And then I finally 2398. All right, I'll just start calling it that. Then that stops some confusion. But I'm trying to think of where I was going with this, Dave. Forgive me.
Oh, that's all right. Well, but the whole history of frame rates is really wild.
Oh yeah, well, doing 30 and 2997.
Yeah.
I mean, or doing a music video and having to do a pull down.
Yeah, there's someone, I can't remember who it was, on one of my Facebook friends posted a video, and it was a couple of years old, but it was like somebody explaining, it was like a comedian, a British comedian, explaining legit, like, why do we have all these different frame rates and all these things? And it's like, it's just, but even then, like, unless you're versed in the verbiage, it's like, what? And even today, I'm still like, why aren't we all just at 30? Or like, can we just all get at 25? Can we just pick one and say, this is it?
Well, actually, Europe or anybody using PAL doesn't have that problem that we have here in the States.
Yeah.
Because of NTSC versus PAL. What's the old joke? PAL, perfection at last. NTSC is not the same color frame every time or whatever. I forget.
Yeah.
Anyway, there were some old jokes with that. But the point, I had something that happened a couple of years ago, and I won't say any names or projects just to be straightforward about it, but we were shooting film. And this, the Post transfer house, which was a major one, they nobody there understood syncing film in frame rates, apparently. And I knew how to do it, on a linear recorder. Okay, we're going to shoot because it's being transferred to HD, the picture, right? So going to be shot at 24. It's going to be pulled down to 2398. So sound's going to go at 48048 and 24. And then it'll be pulled down to 48 and 2398, and picture and sound will sync, and it'll be a lovely thing. That's how we always did it.
Yeah.
Because there's not as many projects being done on film. Every time I say film's going away, another film project comes back. And so, we had the conference calls, we had the emails, everybody's on board with it. And then I get a call on a Sunday morning from LA, from the transfer house, saying, we can't do 48048 and 24. I go, really? Yeah, something's not right. It's not syncing. I'm like, it should be. You need to check all your settings, make sure. No, we want to change it. and we want to go to 48 and 2398. I said, okay, but I need you to send me an email. I need you to CC the post supervisor, editorial, everybody, in so to speak, the workflow that we are doing this. And said, okay, no problem, do it. And I said, I really think this isn't right, but I'm willing to do whatever you guys want to do. But I pointed that out several times, that I really didn't think it was right, that they needed to figure out what was going on their end, but they were sure this was going to work and fix the problem. Well, that lasted about a week. Then I get another phone call. Yeah, we need you to go back to 48048 and 24. And so I just never said anything, but there was a week of work there that I don't know how they sunk it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's like,
I mean, obviously they could and everything, but and I don't know what went on back behind closed doors there at that transfer facility. But I really think the issue was there were a lot of young people involved that had not had any syncing film experience in understanding pull downs and pulling down to HD and that type of thing.
Yeah, well, it kind of gets back to, like we were talking about before, like learning how it was done the old way.
Right.
It's like you learn these things that you may not use in your daily life.
True.
But 20 years after you graduate school and you get on some production and somebody brings a thing up, you go, oh yeah, we talked about this back when I was in college. It's these valuable things that, and in school, they have so little time to get to what they need to, and even then, there's never one true right way to do something, and
there's different ways to do it. I mean, another way, instead of doing the 48048, we'll do 48 and then pull it down to
47956.
Yeah, there's different ways to do it. I was just always going with the most common way.
Yeah.
As to what somebody wanted. So anyway.
But the cool thing now is I don't know if you remember on Clerks 2 when you guys were shooting out of that hotel, working at that hotel.
Yeah.
And there was, I don't remember the exact issue of, like, there was a sync issue.
It was a sample rate or time code issue, I want to think.
There was some funkiness going on.
There was something strange that happened with the Diva.
And I just remember I was like, there was this new program called SoundHack. And I said, well, let me, give me, I don't know if you remember, you gave me one of your discs, and I imported that stuff over onto the Mac at the shop. And I just went into SoundHack and I just changed the metadata.
But, I think the thing also was it was something in the Abbott or something they weren't doing correctly.
Yeah.
I don't remember. That's been so many years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But yeah, the point was like now there's enough software. I can use Wave Agent. I can use SoundHack. There's things I could do to change if I have to, because it's all just metadata at this point. And if people know that these tools exist, it's like, oh, you can just go to SoundHack and just do this. And I was stunned the first time I did it. I was like, I can't believe that this worked. And I didn't quite understand the process of what was really going on. And it's like somebody explained, I think it was Glenn or somebody explained it to me how metadata actually works. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this makes total sense then. So.
And also, speaking of metadata, people should never, in post, change the metadata. Ever, ever, ever. Anyway.
Yeah, well, you put it there you put in what you put in for a reason.
Yeah.
So, but no, I really like coming to visit that set. That was of Clerks 2, because that was, it was a pretty small crew. But everybody was really cool, and Kevin Smith was so intense when he was directing. And I was just like, I grew up in high school, watching Clerks, and loved, I was a comic book kid, so I loved Mallrats. And so I was like, oh, holy shit, that's Kevin Smith, and he's right there. And he had this tent enclosure thing. I don't know if you remember when they were shooting this exterior with Jay Hughes. Jay wasn't getting something right, and Kevin's just yelling at him.
Yeah, but with love.
Right. I mean, those guys are buddies. They're friends. I mean, there's the way that I would yell at one of my friends if they weren't doing something right. I mean, it's not like he was like mad or it wasn't like he was being a jerk or anything. It's just like that's just how their relationship is, and it was just like, oh man, that's like. I didn't want to like say anything to him because I was like, I don't want to ruin his vibe because.
Kevin's great. Still, he was. I think that the most friendly sound director I've ever worked with.
Really?
Since he was a writer, he wanted the words protected. He wanted the performance protected when he got what he wanted, and he didn't want to have to replace it later. He was very big about that. I mean, it was and David Klein was the cinematographer on that picture as well as a lot of other of Kevin's films, and we would not ever think about doing wide and tight. Do wide and then we'll do two tights, bring out the second camera. You do a master with one and then bring out the other one. And David would come to me, can I do this? Does this work for you? And this of course doesn't happen these days or on very many productions where it was a true collaboration. And I'm not being here, woe is me, sound is kicked, around and not respected. I'm not saying that at all, but it was just a very, always very collaborative. And I can remember Kevin on more than one occasion, oh, there's a boom shadow. Well, turn off that light then. It was halfway serious, but let's fix it was basically what he was saying. Because to him, hearing the dialogue was as important as the picture. And that's not always a feeling I get from a lot of directors that I work with these days. I mean, they are concerned about sound, but they've got so many other priorities that sometimes we're not at the top. And that's okay. That's why we're paid to do what we're to do is to come in and figure out how to solve the issues. Well, if you can get the wide shot and the medium shot that they're shooting at the same time on the wires, then we'll bring in the booms after that. And anyway, there's challenges that we deal with these days, but it was just, I always have the fond memories of how much Kevin cares about sound. And,
I love his like An Evening with Kevin Smith.
No, we recorded some of those too.
Yeah. It's interesting how he can, something that's a story that if I told it would be 3 to 5 minutes. And for him, it's like a 45-minute epic tale.
Yeah, I feel so sorry for all the people that line up to ask him questions.
Because they never get one.
45 minutes to answer one question. He only takes like 8 questions the whole evening.
Yeah, his story about the Superman when they were trying to get him to write I loved that.
Oh, yeah, about he can't be in tights.
Yeah.
If we don't want to see him fly, was that one?
Yeah, he can't fly. He can't be in tights, and it has to be a giant spider.
Yeah, and giant spider is the villain. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then out came the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, that whoever was in there.
And the same CEO of the studio, a year or two later.
Yeah. I just I love that, and I love his like even his like when he did Red State.
Yeah.
It was such a different thing. But it was so well done. I just absolutely loved it. And, Tusk was a little bit odd, but I still liked it. So, but
now Glenn True did Red State.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
So, but you're kind of like the Godfather of sound in Atlanta. Is that just because you've been there for so long and been doing it for so long?
Well, I mean, there's people here that have been doing it longer than me, but I don't know. Some of the young people gave me that, but I helped a lot of people try to get started. The Chris Durfees, the Michael Clarks, and some of those guys, worked with me, and I've tried to make it a real community here.
Yeah.
All of us to be supportive and everything. I mean, until a few years ago, I mean, we now have True Audio in Gotham here, but before that, we didn't have a rental house, so to speak, that supported us or really. So, if you needed an extra slate or an extra wireless or some, we had to call each other, hey, can I borrow your extra slate? Can I, so we tried to, embellish a real community here. And we still have that today. And that's why some of them started that Godfather thing. It's just that I've always tried to, get us as a community together and be supportive of each other and, that type of thing.
Yeah, it's you really can, when you started the first Atlanta mixer, was that 4 or 5 years ago? And when I was working at K-Tech and we came down, it was like, wow, these guys are really tight with each other. This isn't, it was really cool and interesting to see. And it really is a really tight community. And now we're starting to see that replicated, in New York, and now we're seeing that in LA.
Yeah, in Texas and other places, they've started having events and getting people.
Yeah.
But I think you're only as strong as your community is, really. And I mean, yeah, pretty much for the most part, everyone gets along. There are a couple of exceptions, but we're I consider us a family, and everybody tries to support everyone.
Yeah.
Of course, the social networking helps also with Facebook and that type of thing.
Yeah, but it's important. It's having been closer to my start of career where I am right now than the end of my career, which wherever that goes, it goes. But I remember what it's like when you're starting out, and if you could find somebody like what you were saying when you were helping them, I think kind of mentoring.
Well, that's the whole thing. All the articles that have been written in CAS with the mentoring and everything, and all that, and that's all it is. It's just helping people along. You got to realize, prior to the internet and early on in my career, there was no internet really. You would call other sound mixers and talk to them, and spend an hour on the phone talking to Matt Price in New York when we were both Diva 2 users, and just sharing information and things like that. And then now it's developed with social media and everything that you have a community that way. But used to, I would spend hours on the phone talking to different mixer friends about, how my day went, or what microphone I used, or what issues I had with a recorder or a production. But now it's changed from that.
Yeah, but I think that the overall mentorship idea is so important, and it's almost more valuable than having a 4-year degree,
Well, yeah, it is, because it's not just, Dave, it's not just about what microphone to use. It's like sometimes how to negotiate with the production. It's about sometimes the politics that are on set that you're dealing with, that somebody maybe younger doesn't quite know how to deal with. It's about sometimes managing your department, your boom operator, your utility, or issues that you're having with them, and sharing with them how to, make it work.
Yeah, my oldest, he's a junior in high school, and he's at that stage where it's like, okay, if I'm gonna go to college, which that's like an interesting conversation in itself.
Yes, but it is.
If I'm gonna go, what am I gonna major in? And he doesn't have to have it nailed down, but do I want to do? He's like, I might want to direct films, or I'm really good at arguing. Maybe I'll be a lawyer. So I'm like, well, you are good at arguing. But, part of me's like, in MTSU right here, they have a good, Matt Foglia runs the audio program over there. And I did a guest lecture over there a while back about video dialogue for video games. So I did that for a while. And, I'm just talking to Max about okay, you're a junior now, you're going to be taking your ACTs. You got to kind of get dialed in on not exactly what you want to major in, but really start thinking about it. And he's like, yeah, maybe I want to direct. And I'm thinking, okay, don't even do film school. There's, I would rather him get on a set here as a PA, or, just shadow, spend, if somebody's working on something that I know here locally, just be like, hey, can Max just hang out and watch and see how it goes? And then, if it's something that he still is interested in, then go, okay, maybe you can become a PA, or maybe you can be the assistant to utility, or whatever department you dig. Because boy, school is so expensive, and experience and mentorship goes a long way.
Well, and also what you were just mentioning, set experience, you cannot get that at school, and it can't be taught. You can't read it in a book. The only way to get that is mentorship on a set.
Yeah.
There's somebody on a set and learning a set. And that's the one thing I've met. And a lot of people they know the dynamics of a microphone and different mics and all the specs, and they know all the Pro Tools and they're this and that, and very, very highly educated. But when it came to putting them on a set, they were lost. They couldn't tell a grip from an electrician, which ideally, if you look at their tool belt, you should know which department they're in. Because if you're asking someone for something, you don't want to go up to a grip and say, well, I need a stinger. Or you don't want to go up to an electrician, I need an apple box or a sandbag. You want to know who you're talking to, and also how to interact with them and how sound interacts with, because three people don't get great sound. It takes the sound department, and this is something I preach over and over, or say over and over, I should say. It takes the three sound people getting everyone else to join them in getting great sound. That's the only way. If you can get the crew to help you get great sound, that's the only way you're going to get great sound. Three people will never do it by themselves. It involves getting all the departments into supporting them and helping them. But teaching somebody, you've got to have set experience. There's no shortcut. There's no degree around it. And spending time as a PA on a set is valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some value in like I get, working on a student film, these things where like it's the value there is like that's where you get to make mistakes and nobody fires you.
No, very true, though. Very true.
But yeah, I mean, with what college is costing these days, and all that, it's just like, boy, if he could be out there looking and just observing and watching. Because the thing that would really suck is if you get your 4-year degree and then you start to get some set experience and you go, whoa, this is not for me. I'm going to go do something else. But now you got like 80 grand of debt you got to pay off. And I was fortunate enough to have, because there are people that recognize like, okay, he has a certain amount of technical knowledge. Because you come out of school with I came out of school with a lot of technical knowledge, and the first time I went to set with Chris Silverman, he kind of gave me the quick crash course of do's and don'ts, and then I would just kind of observe, and then I would be amazed at the amount of technical stuff that some people didn't know, right. And I'm like, how are these guys doing, making all this money, but they don't know signal flow or gain staging. But then it's like, as time went on, it was like, it's not necessarily, that's part of it, but the bigger part is everything you just said. And that's what needs to be taught at the school level, I think. It's because it's frustrating when you're 22 and all the technical stuff, and I can cut Pro Tools super well, and then,
Well, like I say, I see those people, and they're coming out of, some of the, what I call sound schools, music schools, recording schools, and coming out of film schools. But the ones that I see that really do good are programs that have an internship involved. And here locally, with the Georgia Film Academy, which is one of the governor's programs here in the state of Georgia, that's tied into some of the colleges, they're putting people on the set and getting 20-day internships, which is pretty valuable.
Oh yeah.
And we recently had an intern with us for 20 days. She did a great job, but she did have a sound background. She had already been to one of the recording schools, and then now was in the film program, and got her on set, and she did a wonderful job. She picked up really well, but now she's got set experience. She knows, how to deal with the camera department a little bit with slates and sync boxes and things like that, and how to deal with actors with wires and things, that some of the politics that you're never going to learn in a classroom or book. The only way you're going to do it is with an internship or set experience.
Yeah. I last time I was down when I was visiting Mike on Walking Dead, they had an intern, from college, and mm-hmm. I was just like, boy, I bet you're lucky, you're interning on, and pretty, high profile show. You get to go back to school in the fall, and guys, guess what I was on, and that's like a really good resume builder right there.
Yeah.
And, I think the value of internships is good as long as, the people are learning, like what you,
that would have been probably Akira. Was he the intern?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, he has gone on. Just a quick thing. He has gone on after working with Michael Clark and his team. He has gone on. He's joined the local, and guess what? He's working all the time as a sound utility now. He's with Felipe Brero.
Oh, wow.
It's become his main utility.
Wow. Good for him.
But just want to show you how doing an internship led to a job.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you get in, and one thing I've noticed is especially with social media now, is like when you put yourself out there, get yourself known, even as I'm brand new and I'm learning, and if people like you, and a lot of it is like personality, having a likable personality, it's like you start getting the calls, you start, getting to work. And that's I'm really glad to hear that, because I didn't get to hang out with him a lot. I was only there for like half a day, but he was really cool. He was really with it. And man, that's really awesome to hear. That was only a couple of years ago. Now he's
working all the time now. He was with us on the last movie I did, as we had some additional days for additional utilities. He came out and worked with us, and he was fabulous. But I think the fact that he had spent the time with Michael Clark down there and his team really made all the difference. If he had just came out of school and tried to join the industry, I don't think he would have gone as far as he had.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, it totally does. Yeah. Because now, Mike can, if he's, Mike, he's got Mike as a reference, basically, and he has that team as a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool to hear. I'm really glad to hear that about him,
But now I want to go back to something you said about, going on social media. Hey, I'm new, I'm this, I'm that. I see a lot of that. You know what? That kind of goes nowhere.
But I think a lot of it is, it's not just that.
But you have to get out. You have to send emails to people, call people, hang out at, whether it be Location Sound, True Audio, Gotham. Guess who comes in there to buy things? Mixers. Meet the mixer, introduce yourself, go have coffee, go have lunch.
Yeah, I think FaceTime is it's like social media is a way of kind of like announcing you exist. Like, hey, I'm here and I'm a thing. But yeah, I always would encourage people, like when I especially when I worked at Coffee and someone was brand new to LA, they just came from whatever, and I would encourage them, just hang out here, get to know your local dealers, support your local dealers. Because we would get calls all the time. Hey, I need them. Do you know? This was before, Facebook and stuff was a thing. But people would call us and say, "I need a mixer for this," or who can you recommend? And get to be friends with the shops. It's FaceTime. Meeting people at like the Atlanta Mixer event. Mm-hmm. Getting there, networking, do like the Sound Summits. We just did one in Seattle. Get it and it's like there was a guy that I had met and he had just moved there the day before. He moved into his apartment. He was at the Sound Summit, and then within 2 weeks he moved from Denver. He was young up and coming mister. He's getting work, and it's like, oh, that's getting out there and getting FaceTime with people.
That's so important, because I can't tell anything about somebody who makes a post.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't know anything about them truly, what their personality is, what they're like. So I'm a little reluctant to jump on those sometimes. Yeah, welcome, whatever. But the FaceTime, the one-on-one is so important.
Yeah, getting to the social events or making those calls and saying, hey, can I sit down and pick your brain, or can I just shadow you on set if, depending on the type of shoot it is.
Let me ask you, the summit, was that the DPA Electro sound devices? Okay, yeah, we had one here a while back, yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. K-Tech had me, even though I don't work for K-Tech anymore, they had me do their presentation because I'm like still really familiar with their stuff, and So, because I'm with DVE store and DVE store's right up there. So, I was up there anyway. Yeah, I'd actually never been to one before. This is my first like Sound Summit event. And they're really interesting. It's we each gave a presentation, but it's not like, here, buy my stuff. It's like Carl, like I thought it was like I was sitting in a college lecture, and he was talking about the way wireless works. It's like, for as long as I've been involved with this, I still learned a whole lot from what he was talking about. I highly recommend people go to these if there's one in their area. Next time there is one, I don't know when the next one is, but DPH was talking about, they were showing their new device. It's that little UFO looking thing, and you can plug your mic and do it into a phone. But just about like off axis, like how important like not having off axis coloration is, and it was just like. It was really interesting. I learned a lot, and it's really good networking. Yeah. Charles Tamaris was there, and he's been up in that area for a long time, and I really liked it. This is the overall point is getting out to these things, getting FaceTime. Have a card with your contact information on it.
Yeah, very important. And also go into any event like that, not just the social aspect of it, but what you said, the learning. It doesn't matter if you've been doing this for 1 year or 30 years, there's always something new to learn. And my value used to, if I bought a book and there was just one chapter or one section that I learned something new from, that book was worth it. Or the blog you're reading on the internet about production sound, or the video you're watching or whatever. But if you can just learn 1 or 2 or 3 new things, which obviously when you've got sound devices, DPA, Electro, and all those guys together, you're going to learn a lot. But always go to these things. There's continuing education that, when I get to a point where I think I know everything, then I probably should retire or quit. But you always need to continually educate yourself. And it's real easy now, with the internet and so much information, and with videos like that you're doing. It's what Alan Williams is doing, a channel or whatever.
Yeah, I love what he's doing. Yeah.
He's taking a whole different spin. And then you got Matt Price over in England doing all this stuff. These are great educational things. But I want to say a couple of years ago, I made a promise. I need to spend, even if I'm working, I need to spend at least 2 hours a week educating myself. Continually to educate myself in the craft, whether it be watching some videos, reading a book, or reading a blog, or reading a manual even sometimes on a new product, but to continually educate yourself. It doesn't stop, but whatever your goals want to be, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, if you're new in the business, maybe you want to do 5 hours a week of educating yourself in the craft you've chosen, whether it be sound, utility, mix, whatever.
Yeah, especially utility, because, I thought about, I don't know if you remember, before I moved here, I was thinking, maybe I'll go to Atlanta, and we talked, and I was like, hey, maybe I'm thinking about being a utility, but it's like I didn't have any real world experience doing it, but I know what utilities do, and I was just like, I don't know if I could hang that. Like, I would have to spend a long time, like, working my way up, and because I've seen having been to a lot of sets when I would visit in LA, and seeing what's expected of those guys, it was like, holy cow, this isn't just like go grab this, go grab that. Those guys were like building cables, fixing this, soldering that, and I'm like, I'm not that good at that.
Well, I'm going to brag on Alana, who's my utility, and what we've been through over the last few months, a lot of people could not handle. We're averaging 30 Comtechs a day. And I'm not talking about for, the producer's girlfriend or things like that. There's so much that the way we've been filming, everybody's working off cues. The dimmer board operator's working off cues. The gaffer's working off verbal cues, off dialogue, and also off cues from the assistant director. We've got a lot of video screens that are up that are working off cues. They all have to hear that, not to mention a couple of dialogue coaches and different folks. So we've been averaging almost 25 to 30 Comtechs a day.
Wow.
One day we had 47.
Jeez.
And that was because we had the press in, okay, with the publicist. And so we just brought in extras for that. And then also she's dealing with wiring, 8 to 10 actors a day. Can I share a picture with you?
Yeah.
Let's see. Where's the share? I forget. It's on here somewhere.
Let's see. Where's screen? Down the bottom, share screen. Yeah.
There it is. Okay. This was after wrap one day. Both Alana and I took a picture of it. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, there we go.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, that's almost sometimes an average day right now.
Man, how long does that take to undo all the wirea and get it all wrapped?
Probably to clean up everything at wrap, because we've got a lot of VOGs going on, PA systems and stuff, because our sets are really big and they're cueing, wind and fire and rain and different things. So we've got that out too. But it's our wrap is easily, and not that I do it all or anything, but Doug and Alana, I mean, they're usually a half hour at least or more, sometimes 45 minutes getting everything put back up.
Wow.
Wow.
And
then dealing with, collecting 8 or 10 wireless, chasing all the actors down at wrap.
Yeah, because you gotta manage time, because you're like, okay, what do I do for it? We've got a bunch of Comtex out, but we've got wires on actors, and we don't want to have them sitting around waiting on us.
Well, no, they'll run to the trailer, and then you've got to try to chase it down. But anyway, and then also on some days now we've had additional utilities in too, when we've had anyway. But we've brought that in, but we don't get to bring that in every day or whatever, just because we have 30 Comtex. We don't get to bring someone else in. But when we've had some other challenges and stuff, production's been very good about letting us bring in some extra help. But anyway, but yeah, that right there, showing just all the Comtex and dealing with 8 or 10 wirelesses, and even sometimes doing second boom and the VOG systems and this and that. I mean, that's not a beginner's job.
No.
And a lot of times people are fooled, or not fooled, but don't understand, would probably be the correct term, that a utility is not an entry-level job. You have to have certain skills.
Yeah.
I mean, before you take that job. Now, obviously on a small thing or an independent film or something like that's a little different, but when you're up there in major episodic television and feature making, it's not a entry-level job. You do have to have skills and a certain amount of talent to be able to manage it.
Yeah, and you got to be hyper organized.
Oh, absolutely.
It's if you have someone, if you're on a job where there's just a big your cart, and then there's a big follow cart, and then there's either a trailer or a truck that you have that has even more stuff in it. It's like Thomas Pop he said it best. We at K-Tech, when I was there, we had an open house a couple of years ago, and we had a panel discussion, and he was saying, as a utility, my job, to keep it all organized and make sure it's all nice and neat. But if for some reason I can't be there, so another utility has to be able to come in here and know what I'm thinking and know how it's organized and see it and not go, because again, the time, I just, I thought about doing it, and there are a lot of factors why, but one of them was I don't want to come in and get on a big job just because I know somebody and then completely screw it up, plus, there's other qualified guys, and but yeah.
But it all takes, getting used to it and starting off small and growing big. And, there's always ways to approach it. You talked about the trailer. I think this is really one of the first projects we just don't care about the trailer. We don't have time to sweep it out. We don't have time to really clean it or keep it organized, which normally we do. We keep it very sanitized, I guess might be a way to push it. But we're so busy on this current project, it's moved down in priorities. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, no, it totally does. So are you guys mainly just shooting it all there, or are you going to be traveling at all for it?
No, we had a unit that traveled into Mexico that shot, but that was the second unit. But no, everything was done here.
Wow. Yeah, I'm impressed. The more and more that's being done there. I don't think people realize, like, because Pinewoods, they're expanding now, right? Or didn't they? Or
They're always they had I want to say 3 phases, and I think they've completed all of those, and I'm sure there's another phase planned. But I think they're up to 14 or 16 stages.
yeah, and it's like,
It might be more. I'm not keeping up these days, Dave.
but it's like you hear like, oh, the Allegiant or the Divergent series, was done there, and it's like,
No, well, it was done in Atlanta, not at Pinewood.
right, yeah, in Atlanta is what I mean, not at, but it was, but they're like, but that takes place in Chicago, yeah, but it's post-apocalyptic Chicago, but but it's like, yeah, there's I have some friends of mine I talk to that aren't in the industry, and I'm like, yeah, they do like the Fast and Furious, some of those later movies there, Ant-Man's there. Well, Transformers, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're doing Godzilla there, and a lot of TV.
Yeah, a lot of.
It's really impressive. It's like, if I were kind of starting out, I would seriously consider Atlanta over Hollywood, especially California is so darn expensive, and all that stuff. But
I think you would have better opportunities here. So, and of course, I mean, it's almost once a week or every 2 weeks I get a call from somebody from Los Angeles considering moving here.
I bet. Yeah, I noticed, like, because I've been to 2 or 3 of the mixer events down there, and it grows every year. And every year there's like more folks from LA there, and in my head I'm like,
Oh yeah. Well, but a lot of them just come and visit too.
Yeah. There's that.
But there has been more people that have moved here, and sometimes people realize the quality of life here versus the cost of LA and this and that. Although you have to deal with a little bit of winter and a little bit of humidity.
Winter. Yeah, it's and my in-laws lived in Alpharetta for a while.
Right.
And we were living out in LA, and they would, oh, the traffic's horrible. But they're used to like small town Illinois, central Illinois, where like, oh, if you got slowed down by 5 minutes on the freeway, that was a traffic jam. And they're, oh, the traffic's horrible. And then I was out there once and got caught, and it's not a pleasant experience, but it's got nothing on bad LA traffic. And
it's got nothing on the 405. I've done enough work in LA, but anyway.
I had to go take something to Mark Ulano when he was working on Zathura. It was a software update for the Diva 5. And on my way back, I was going back. They were on the Sony lot. I was going down to 405. It was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 miles. This was my total trip. It took me 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it was like this, and it wasn't during rush hour.
No. I mean, I've been in bumper-to-bumper traffic at 3 in the morning on the 405 and didn't understand why.
Oh, yeah. I picked up my flight, or my wife from, she flew back. She was visiting her folks when they were living here before we moved here. And it was either here or Atlanta where she was coming back from. But she landed at like 11 o'clock at night. And I'm going down the 405, and it's bumper to bumper. And I'm like, what? Why are these people out here? What is going on? Turned out it was a junk hauler who you see these guys with these little teeny tiny pickup trucks that they just load high as they can with just junk. And he had a fridge, he had a queen bed, and he had all this, and it was all over the freeway. And just all falling out, and just traffic was backed up. But it's like, but that's the kind of stuff that happens there.
Oh yeah.
And so now every time I'm behind someone like that now, I just like get around them, or
Yeah. Well, you know the problem I've had this weekend in Atlanta is I'm in the fast lane, which the laws in Georgia are if you're in the left-hand lane, if somebody's going faster than you, you have to yield the lane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the law.
Right.
They're supposed to. Slower traffic is to move to the right. There are all these people with Florida plates driving in our fast lane very slowly that have came up from the storm.
Yeah, they just
anyway, just a little tongue in cheek there.
Yeah, we've drove down to we were in Orlando in July for my oldest son. He's on the archery team. They're having the international tournament down there. Yeah, we drove through. If we would have had time, I would have like stopped off for a few days and made the rounds and said hello to everybody. Yeah, we were on a really short timetable and flew through Atlanta, but flew through the whole state. Yeah, we drove. Georgia's a really pretty state. It's like that's where you really start to see like I want to say the geographic vibe change where like from here in Tennessee, you go through the Smokies and then it's like all of a sudden the trees are changing. You see moss hanging from the trees when you get down South Georgia. And it's like, oh wow, it's a completely different vibe just from the topography. It's really cool.
Well, I think that's another thing with the film industry. Here, we have beaches, we have mountains, we have woods, we have, the New York look downtown. I mean, we have so many different looks here, which has made it appealing to the film industry in addition to the tax credit.
Yeah. I mean, like the only thing you don't really have really close is like open desert if you need
it. We do not have desert. That's one thing we lack.
Yeah, but it's like that was used so much from the 60s up through the 80s.
Yeah.
It's almost like, oh, okay, yeah, like there was Knight Rider. That's where Batman and all these shows, all the Westerns. And it's like, it's almost like you can't get away with that unless it's a specific scene. Like you can't really fake it out there.
No.
But yeah, no, it's, I love the Atlanta area. We seriously, it was that or here, but yeah.
No, you guys made a good choice.
Yeah, my first criteria was states with no income tax. That was like number one for me. After getting hammered in California, moving here was like getting a pay increase. It was dramatic. But yeah, we really, really like it. So,
what else should we talk about, Dave? Anything else you want to cover? I don't know what questions or what your criteria on this is, or with me, or whatever.
Well, for me, it's really just shooting shit, just kind of talking and whatever, Like I like people like war stories and that kind of stuff, I'm just looking at see, I don't know how much into detail like you want to get in terms of like, some shows that were like really difficult, either personality wise or technical wise, or certain challenges that, you face that you had to come up with some crazy solution to solve.
That's every show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, the thing about it is we were presented with challenges. Something Alana and I were talking about the other day. On this current project, we've had to deal with a lot of wind, created from Ritter fans and what they call the 100-mile-an-hour fan, and a lot of special effects with rain and water and a lot of things. And some of this stuff is going to be replaced in ADR, but still, we've got to get a good track for the ADR, and we've got to also let the director and the producers and everyone hear what the actors are saying. Regardless, you still have to provide as clean a tracks as you can. And we figured out, well, okay, we're dealing with this wind. We're going to use this amount of protection and this. Then we have to waterproof things also with a lot of the scenes. And it was so funny the other day. It's like we're doing a scene. It's like we just didn't think anything about it. Oh, here's what we do. Here's how we do it. Well, at the beginning of the show, we were trying to figure out exactly what details we needed to make that happen, with how much bumblebee stuff to put on, or how much ShamWow to absorb the water, because that's what we do. Mike Clark's posted something about that, but that was something that we discovered back on Fast Five with all the sweat and water and things that I started and everybody said, no, that'll never work. Well, Doug and Kevin Summers said it'd never work. And then I said, no, I'm going to try it. It worked. for putting it, behind mics and around mics and whatever. And actually, it's fairly transparent if you put it over a mic too, COS11 or one of the DPAs. As long as you're using the thinner ShamWow. There is some thick ShamWow that we don't use, but anyway. But we were dialing all that in early on in the show, and it's like at this point we don't even think twice about having this 100-mile-an-hour fan blowing the actors, or the wet and rain and stuff. It's just it just kind of became natural.
Yeah.
And it's kind of strange because it's so not in filmmaking or really or the specialty things. It's like, in a line hour, here, just prepping it and doing it and not even thinking twice about it.
What do you use it for, like waterproofing and water protection, like on a boom or something like that?
Generally, we're not getting the booms out there that much. But we were using the remote audio Hoodman or Rainman.
The Rainman, yeah.
Sorry, Rainman. We were using that when we were dealing with it because you can just wring it out and put it back on. We're using this medical wrap that it adheses itself for connections and things. With the VOG mic, we had to make waterproof because our first AD was wearing his whole rain suit and out there in the middle of the rain.
Oh, wow.
So we were putting it in a baggie and sealing it up and this and that.
And for those that don't know, VOG is Voice of God.
Yeah.
So that's like he's got a mic and it's playing over a loudspeaker so he could give direction. Like I remember when we came to see you on Anchorman 2, they would use that to tell all the extras in the dolphin crowd, the crowd in the dolphin enclosure, okay, everybody say, this or that, and the whole crowd.
Everybody boo, everybody cheer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what VOG is. And, I remember at K-Tech, our Holy Grail, when I was there, when we were working on a new Zeppelin, which we ended up having to shelve, but the real Holy Grail was like really good waterproofing for a Zeppelin that isn't just absorption, where you got to take it off and wring it out, because when that happens, now the sound gets muffled and it gets heavy. And, it was like I wanted something that it was like water off a duck's back. It just came right off. I even looked at harvesting duck feathers. And I talked, one of my uncles who's an avid hunter, he lives up on Lake Placid, I asked him about this. I'm like, how can I get this? And I explained what I was doing. He says, David, it's not going to work because once they're off the duck, they lose that whole thing.
The oil and everything else, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they preen, they do all this stuff to make it do that. It's like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
one thing we had to be careful about when we did get a boom in there, especially with using the wind machines and the Ritter fans. And for anybody that doesn't know what the Ritter fans are, it's basically an airplane prop that's probably 5 feet high, 6 feet high, that's in a cage that spins, that creates massive wind. But for a set, but Doug had to be careful a few times with being in front of what they call the 100-mile-an-hour fan and whatnot, that it wouldn't snap the boom bowl.
Wow.
Depending on where you were approaching it or his angle,
right.
Wow. Yeah. Had to be careful with that because we're talking about wind that would almost blow you down.
Wow, that's pretty intense. Yeah, and if that snaps, that's an ugly scene happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he had. Doug, obviously, somebody with his experience and 25 years and all that. He knew what his limits were, or knew what the equipment's limits were, I should say.
Yeah.
He would back off or something if that would happen, or close up a thinner section. But yeah, these were challenges that we had to deal with. But it was so funny. It was so out of the norm compared to just your everyday sitcom or comedy or whatnot with some elements. And then we've dealt with these in the past and things like that. But it's just the beginning. It was a little more challenging till we had it dialed in really well.
Yeah, well, and it's like
now we don't even think twice about it. And I said, this is so not normal. I was telling Alana the other day. Yeah,
so it's like that becomes the new norm, and then you'll get on a comedy and it'll be just like cake. It'll be easy as pie, Yeah. I remember I think it was Hangover 3, we came to visit you. And
I did when we were on the stage at Warner Brothers.
I think it was like your last day.
It was close to it. It was one of the last
days. And I just, hearing the story that somebody had, it was the director, somebody had their Comtech headphones on.
Oh, yeah.
Over their hood.
Yeah, that was the director. Yeah.
Yeah, complaining that he couldn't hear it. It wasn't
here. I've got it turned all the way up and I can't hear. He's got it on the outside of his hoodie and jacket when we were out in the desert. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was that we weren't allowed to take photos of the set, but those were some really cool sets.
Yeah.
The Chow was that day, he was like when he was escaping from whatever prison he was in.
Yeah, he was in the underground tunnels and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next stage over was the top of the roof of Caesar's Palace.
Yeah. Yeah. I forget which stage that was at Warner Brothers, but it's the one that has the water, where you can do a water thing. So that way we weren't using water, but we could make it taller and deeper.
Yeah. And it was so like they were tearing that down because they were done with it.
Yeah.
But it was like, holy crap. It was so huge and it was right there. And so then we didn't get to see it in the theater because with 4 kids, like getting out to the theaters.
That limits your programming, right, Dave?
Yeah, you're telling me, man. And it's like we go out to see a movie, all 4 of us. And now that the younger guys are older, it's like we'll go see. We took them all to go see Transformers 5 or whatever number they're on, and we went to go see Spider-Man. And it's like an outing. So that's 6 of us. I mean, and in the theater that we go to is a lower cost theater because it's close. But even then, I'm dropping $100, $150 depending on how much popcorn these kids go through.
Sure.
And it's like, dang, But when it came out on DVD, we rented it, and I just remember watching when it got to that scene, really paying attention because it was like there was stuff from the side when Zach Galifianakis was like hanging off, but then there was a shot from above where you see all of Las Vegas, and it's like, okay, I know they didn't really go up on the roof of Caesar's Palace.
No, we did both.
Oh, you did?
We did both.
Okay.
We did both because they replicated the roof also.
Because but you weren't really on the roof of the actual Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. I wasn't. I was one level down and we were cabled up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did some entrances and exits out onto the roof, the actual roof.
But there was a shot that was like from way above. Like the actors.
That was on the stage.
Yeah. So, but it looked like usually when you see some of these shots, you're like, okay, they're not really there. But this one, I was like, holy crap, that was really impressive. Like everything it looked. I'm like, how'd they get this shot? Like, how'd they get a crane up there? Or is that a helicopter shot? Like, no, it wasn't. It was really impressive. But yeah, it would be so cool. Like I'm a den leader now for Cub Scouts. I would love to be able to.
Yeah, we did do some helicopter stuff too in Vegas that might have shown the roof.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but like, how do you? Because you've been doing this a long time. You'll spend a lot of time away from home. Like when you guys were in Vegas for a long time, or like you're out in LA for whatever. It's like how do you manage that? Like. For me, that was going to be a big issue. Like, I don't want to be away from family for a long time. And
it's been challenging. It always is.
Yeah.
Anytime you have children and family, it's challenging. I'll tell you who probably is better to speak about that than I am, or I can tell you what he does, is Doug Cameron, my boom operator. Mm-hmm. He has a daughter. She's now starting college. But we've been together, I don't know, 13 or 14 years. For most of our work. And Doug pretty much implemented, or him and Kim, his wife, some years ago, said 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, you either have to come home for the weekend or we come out and visit you. And that's what they started doing. And I think that really made a difference.
Yeah.
Their relationship. And also, we have tools we didn't have 20 years ago. Because my oldest is 20, that I wish I'd had back then. But with the FaceTime and the Zooms and the different ways of chatting online, I know Doug, especially on the weekends when he's off or whatever, when he's out of town, he's online with his wife and daughter talking to him. And with the FaceTimes and all of this, things are different than it used to be years ago. So I really think it's easier now. than maybe 10 years ago to go out on the road and to travel and be away. But I think if you put certain rules and certain things in place, you can make it successful and still a strong family. With all the way of texting and things we didn't have back in my early days. With these tools, it makes a difference now. Because it's not unusual that I'm seeing actors, crew people, directors, producers, everybody FaceTiming with their family or with their 5-year-old. It's walking around set, talking to them and seeing them. So we didn't have these tools, early in the early part of my career. So things have changed. I think it's easier to do that now than it was back then and still have a stable family relationship. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, it does. It's when 10 years ago, because my youngest now is 9,
right.
And when I would go to even within the past 4 or 5 years, like because our 2 youngest are less than a year and a half apart. So, I was having 2 kids in diapers and, one's in kindergarten, the other's in preschool. And if okay, well, I'm going to NAB for a week or I'm going to IBC for a week. And it's like, man, they're like 9 hours ahead and trying to arrange, I would wait till they were all home from school and I'd be sitting in the hotel in Amsterdam. It's like 3 a.m, doing a video chat. And, but it was like hard on my wife doing everything by herself. And,
oh, sure. Yeah. There's still challenges, but the communication and relationship part of it is easier.
Yeah.
In fact, you can talk to your daughter or talk to your son or talk to your wife and spouse. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I would recommend anyone with a family or a spouse or significant other, the 2-week rule is a good thing to go by.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like really good advice.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it's not cheap. Obviously, somebody's got to fly or drive or spend some money. But what's it worth for a family or for a relationship? I don't know if you can always put a price tag on your loved ones.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, so like on stuff like that with the Fast and Furious movies, do you guys get a lot of time to just record, like do sound effects recording with the cars?
No.
Nope.
Peter Brown does that.
Oh, okay.
Peter Brown's the sound designer and sound supervisor, or has been on all the Fasts that I've worked on. And Peter, sometimes when we've been in Atlanta, he actually came out and visited once or twice because he has family here. His sister lives here, actually not too far from us. And I would take him and walk him through the warehouse with all the cars because they have them all parked inside and different ones for different things. You got to realize all the cars are rigged for various things and various stunts, and they maybe they're not true sounding to what they really are.
Right.
They're built for a stunt or they're built to do certain things. So it's not the real engine in them necessarily or whatever you would want to record. But the fact that Peter will gather what they are, this is a, Charger, whatever year, this is a model of whatever, then he'll go out and get those cars, the real ones.
Ah, okay.
And then usually I want to say they give him, I hope I'm not over exaggerating, a week or 2 to record the cars. They go down to somewhere in South California, like some airstrip or something.
El Toro, probably.
Yeah. There's someplace they go down and they spend just, days and days and days of recording, everything from tire squeals to engines to well, you can read the sound effects libraries of how cars are recorded. I mean, I've done it a few times when I've been asked to do it, where you record all the exhaust, all the door slams, the horn, the blinkers, start, stops. You spend all day recording a car.
Yeah, I got to when I was after I left Coffee and I was freelancing, I did was helping out with on the Need for Speed video games.
Yes.
With John Fasal, like being his assistant, and yeah, we would spend. It depended on our schedule. If we really wanted to, we could spend all day on a car, and even then, we wouldn't hit everything. It was just like all the big stuff.
Yeah, I did that for the accountant. Mark Mancini was the sound designer and sound supervisor on it. And we had a truck that was only in a small part of a scene, but it was a very unique old pickup. And I unfortunately, I can't remember the model, but it sounded great. And when he saw the dailies and heard the dailies, his eyes lit up and emails come off to me. I wanted to report that truck. I can't, I'm stuck with, with the shooting crew. I can't really do a lot. But basically, they worked it out with Warner Brothers and them. And after we finished shooting, we went back to the farm, recorded the truck doing all kinds of things. There was 3 of us recording it and putting out as many mics as we can for every pass to get different perspectives and different things. But we spent all day recording that truck. But it was only for about a 30 or 40-second scene. But I know that went into somebody's library.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like once you
got libraried all the effects and everything. And so that's a big thing too.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you have access to a vehicle, especially when you start getting exotic vehicles where you don't, it's like, we had some cars that it's like, we don't know if we're ever going to have access to this car again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, well, let's just get everything we possibly can. Like Ford, when we were recording the cars, they brought out the GT, right. Which was like the reissue of the GT40. And we had a professional driver, to do, because we would do stuff on a Dynapack, and then on the track. Right. And the Ford guys, they brought it out on a flatbed. They were like, okay, this is the only set of tires for this car on the West Coast. So just don't wear them out. Just be careful. And it's like, all right, that's interesting. But yeah, it's like we would spend, when we were taking it to the track, we would probably spend like an hour just getting it wired up and making sure everything was right. I love doing cars. I absolutely love recording cars.
Obviously I've done some stuff over the years, but the thorough job I did was on the truck for the accountant, for Mark and his sound design team. And because they didn't want to spend the money to fly any of their people out. And so I got myself and Michael Wynn and some others to join me to help out. And with the Diva 16, I was trying to record 8 tracks every time.
Yeah.
Mic under the hood, a mic here, just trying. So every pass we did, we got got the most we could do out of it.
Would you do so you would set up mics as it's going by, but the mics on the car, did you set up a second recorder for that, or just use like the recording wireless?
No. Well, stuff that we did interior, I would ride with it. Okay. And, I would have a mic at the exhaust. I would have a mic at the intake. I would have there was a certain stereo mic that we used in the cab. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, one I'm not familiar with, but it's what apparently all the guys use, that we just put in the center of the cab. So anyway, and also I was following some of their guidelines that that was their standards for miking cars. Oh, okay. But we try to get the most out of every pass. Then when we're doing drive-bys, we have one close, we have one back. When we're doing all the effects of, slamming the tailgate, slamming the doors, opening the doors, closing the hood, would have one tight, would have one medium, would have one wide to catch every perspective of it.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So when we did something, it wasn't like we were just doing it for one track and one mic. I thought it was more important to set up as many mics and many perspectives. So when you did it, you got a basket full, I guess would be the way.
That's exactly the way to do it. Cause for me, I've spent so much time in the sound design chair, and I would have, either a door close or door slam, whether it's, a car door or a door in a bedroom. And it's like, but it's mic too close. And now I got to futz with it to get it to sound like it's 10 feet or 20 feet away, rather than just going, oh, here's the right one on the right track, and save me a bunch of time.
Well, yeah. Track 1 is tight. Track 2 is medium. Track 3 is wide, et cetera. But that's how I laid it out. The biggest thing was trying to write all the notes and enter the metadata, because the whole thing, all these recordings, yeah, they're great, but unless you've got them all kind of archived and noted and metadata, somebody's going to have to spend a lot of time on the other end going through it, trying to sort through the recordings. So I'm anal about metadata and notes. So anyway.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of, I guess you get enough time to enter all that in, because for me, it's like part of my frustration on the little bit of freelance that I've done on the production side is like, I like handwritten notes because it's fast. I can do it. And then when I'm
pretty fast with the metadata, with tapping it on a keyboard and the notes or tracks. Or
okay, yeah.
you know.
'Cause I just remember on the Diva, I'd be like on the little touch screen, I'd be like, ding, ding.
Yeah, but, well, I think when we did the truck, I was still using movie slate, so it was very easy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and now with the X3, it's pretty easy to get notes in very quickly with a little keyboard.
Now the X3, that's not even, is that a year old or not even a year old yet?
2.
Two? They've got a new.
It's probably a little older. It's 2 and a few months for me, but I was an early user. Mine is serial number 43.
Oh wow! And now they've got a new controller. I saw a picture of it. It looked like even more of a spaceship than the Cantar does. It's
it's the Cantor S. Yeah, but I've got a 12-channel controller. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I retired my Sonosax for right now.
Wow. You gonna sell it or you gonna keep it?
Debating is tough, Dave. I mean, a lot. Talking about outside of mixers, that's probably my only other big love that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I forgot about that. That wasn't on the radar. I was so thinking about recorders, but
yeah.
If there was one mixer in my whole career that is big in the heart that I love, that just sounds so wonderful, is the Sonosax.
Yeah, they make their stuff is really good and it looks nice. It sounds fantastic.
I mean, there's not a better analog mixer out there.
Well, and I'm still, because I was in that
for production sound. I mean,
right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. For me, like when I started, it was in that transitional analog to digital period, and I really my experience from college in the recording studio, because I'm a drummer.
Right.
I loved.
What's that behind you?
Behind me?
I'm being funny, Dave.
Oh, it's my massive drum kit with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that. It's not like 80s hair band massive, but
right.
I've got a bunch of cymbals. But I really liked recording on analog 2-inch and just saturating the heck out of that tape. I've always just liked the way analog sounds. And my philosophy was always like the A to D conversion, I want it happening in the recorder and nowhere else. Because I just liked how easier it made the workflow. It's like if the mixer is analog, and then I don't have to deal with sync issues and why am I getting this ticking sound in the Diva or whatever, and why is it all this stuff happening? And I've always liked keeping my equipment segregated. Like, no, I want my mixer and I want a recorder. I don't want to be mixing in the recorder, because if something happens and that's got to go in for service, now I'm out of mixer. Now what do I do? So, I'm a very big fan of like analog up until the recorder. And there's a lot of people that don't agree with that. I like to work differently.
I mean, I totally do. But the reason I changed my workflow, the reason I'd figured out all kinds of workarounds on the Sonosax with the X3 for 8 channels, because I need 9 channels. I need 10 channels. I need 11 channels. Doesn't do it. And I figured out workarounds with the X3 because it's such a versatile machine with its faders and input, and I could assign anything to anything. So I could bring in 4 more tracks and do a sub mix and this and mix things back together. And it started becoming kind of an issue because, I mean, depending on the project, you can't just get away with 8 channels unless you're doing, the 3-character movie, which there are those. And so I just got tired of doing all the workarounds to be able to keep the Sonosax. And so when they came out with the 12-channel Cantor S, it's like, okay, I can get 13 tracks, a mix, and 12. And so I pushed it aside for right now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, on the current project, we've had a lot of scenes with, 8 to 11 actors.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah. And so anyway, I had to go that direction. It made it easier for me to deal with. And that I've gotten more used to the X3 over the last 2 years. And then I had to get used to, the Surface controller. And now I don't even think twice about it.
Yeah. Is it like the first time I played with the first Kantar, it was just kind of like, what's their thought process here?
Oh yeah, I'm
It's
sure.
a big learning curve.
Well, the X1 and X2, I'll admit it was challenging when you've been working, when you've been recording on Divas for 15 years, roughly, I want to say, since the late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to think outside the box, and there were some things I had to work work my head around, but I got used to it quickly.
Yeah. Well,
But it wasn't intuitive as the Diva because it does so much. Because you can assign anything to anything, outputs, inputs, any pot, any slider can do anything you want it to do. And that was kind of, I think, probably was my, I'm not going to say stumbling block, but challenge, getting used to that I can make this thing do anything I want it to do. And it's like, really? I can make it control the level of an output as well as, or I can make it control channel 1 of the mix or whatever. But the fact that the machine can do so much, that's what I had to get used to.
Yeah.
And it is a steeper learning curve than some of the other recorders. But I think once you finally get the big picture and you sit down and you play with it, you go, wow.
Yeah.
When you can finally embrace it all and get over the learning curve. And it took me a little while, but I played with it for, I want to say, I left it at True Audio in Atlanta, and I would go in almost every day that I didn't have something else going on. I was between projects and would just sit there and do things and set it up and learn it. Then I'd leave for a couple of days. I'd come back and I'd forget. I mean, seriously. And then would do it again until, and John Harden was awesome. He was up there, struggling to become a utility and hanging out. He helped me. He made all these note cards and cheat cards, and we both kind of learned it together. And he was very helpful with me on that. And again, guy who graduated from SCAD, trying to get work in Atlanta, started hanging out at Tree Audio, did a little mentorship with him, this and that. David Terry's day playing on one of the, or second unit on one of the TV shows, looking for a guy. I said, well, this guy really kind of seems to know what he's doing. Try him out. Goes, does some days with David Terry. David Terry likes him. Next thing you know, someone else, Michael Koff's looking for like kind of a new utility to kind of join his team. And the guy's been working ever since.
Wow.
2 years ago, but another, that mentorship, hanging out at True Audio, he wanted to know every time I was coming up there to learn the X3 and would sit up there with me and we'd read the manual and figure things out. And, but it's putting that in there and getting your face in there and showing you're worth investing in too.
Right.
Because I don't want to, I know we've gotten off things about the mixers and whatnot, but going back to, I've discovered, because I really try to help everyone, or give them advice and try to help and mentor. But sometimes when I don't see people putting anything into it, okay, this is not somebody I want to invest my time in.
Right.
You've got to be willing to put the time in. You've got to be willing to sacrifice sometimes. Oh, well, no, I'm going to work out. I can't come meet you to help you maybe load in equipment or help you do something. Oh, okay, your workout's more important than this new career. I'm just making that up.
Right.
But, make sure you got your priorities dialed in, because if you want me to invest my time in you, show me that you're wanting to invest your time in me. There was a gentleman met up at True Audio, or he contacted me over the internet, said back and forth, and said, okay, you need to read these books. One of the first books I tell people I want to be a utility is Thomas Pop's book, Down to the Wire. Mm-hmm. Right? That'd be basics on how to wire people. The only book I know that does that, really.
Right.
And I've sold at least 100 of those for Thomas, and he still hasn't bought me a beer. You hear that, Tom?
He should cut you in for 5% at least.
He should do something. I've sold a lot of those books for him. And last time I was in LA, he was too busy at Gene's shop to even go have lunch with me. But anyway, yeah, Thomas, I am ribbing you. So anyway, and then this guy, told me, you need to read this, you need to do this, and then, let's talk. And He was educated, went to one of the recording schools, whatnot, and wants to get into this. Realizes the recording industry, music industry, isn't where he wants to be. And a few weeks later, he comes in, spends some more time with me. Did you get that book? No, not yet. Well, I'm not. And he's wanting me to show him things. I said, you haven't even read the book on how to wire people. I'm not even going to go there with you.
Yeah.
I kind of gave you a little homework assignment to go do, and you didn't complete it. And then now you're trying to, spend more time with me mentoring you. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to go down this road, but you understand what yeah. Hey, I tell you to go do a couple things and you want to come back and hang out and learn more. Well, go do your homework.
Yeah. Well, time is, everybody's time is valuable, right? And
yeah, well, I mean, I was prepping for a show, and I don't mind spending time with someone up at True, because a lot of times I leave my equipment up there to prep and stuff between shows and to update and everything else. And I don't mind spending my time, helping somebody, but also show that you're interested.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of disrespectful to you and your time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, and I didn't realize this till I started getting older and started valuing my time more.
That's all we have. That's all we have left, Dave, is time.
Yeah, and it's like everything I do in terms of time, I look at how much is it going to cost, and I know what my hourly rate is, and is it worth, it's like when you're at the grocery store and you see a gallon of milk and it's like, well, it's 50 cents cheaper at Walmart, but that whole trip's probably going to take me 20 minutes to do. Is it
$1.50 in gas?
Yeah. It's like, is it worth that and my time alone to save 50 cents? No. But there are people that will do, it's 50 cents,
Yeah.
It's all about time. And it's like, it's like people have to be respectful. I mean, it's like, we got to understand it. It's not to like, kiss anybody's asses or anything, but it's like you are Whit Norris. Like
no, it's not about that.
But at the same time, I know you're being humble, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I know you're shaking your head, but it's like, I would feel like a jerk if I was wasting your time on something like that.
Well, you speak with somebody, you tell them, well, I'm going to be prepping again. I've told you, do some homework, read this on wireless. Then I'll start going through an electro transmitter and show you how to set it up properly and show you how to, the different things of attaching mics and stuff. But the fact he hadn't even kind of read what I call the 101 Thomas Pop's book, which I think is an outstanding book, hadn't read it.
So you can't even get to the next level.
So I'm not even going to go here if you haven't done that. But people got to invest in themselves, educate themselves. What I said earlier in our conversation about deciding, it doesn't matter if you're a utility or getting into the business or you're a 30-year sound mixer, you need to figure out your formula, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a week, learning something new about our craft. New piece of equipment, a new technique, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that like Thomas Pop is doing like that kind of stuff that he's doing. Cause so many people like won't invest the time into stuff like that. Cause it's like, oh, well, it's such a niche thing. And, but
we're talking, if you want to be a sound utility, you have to have certain skills. It's not entry level. That book will at least teach you some basics and skills on how to mic actors.
Yeah.
You've read the book, right?
Actually, I haven't.
Shame on you, Dave.
I know.
Shame on you, Dave.
I'm a horrible human being. No, I haven't. I've seen excerpts from it.
Sure.
Well, Thomas is a buddy of mine.
I know. No, we're all buddies. No, I know.
Well, he was brand new to. I like to tell him and this is like a really jerk thing of me to do. I'm like, dude, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have had a career in Hollywood. And that's so not how my normal thing. We do that when we're joking around. But he came out. He was finishing up at Full Sail, and he put us out. There's a back when Ramps was Ramps. Back when those news groups existed. There was a Yahoo group that was sound designers. And he was like, I had been out in LA for a year, maybe two. And he's like, yeah, I'm moving out there. I'm finishing up at Full Sail. And like he just basically ran his story down, and it was like, wow, this guy sounds very similar to where I was at a year or so ago. And I've got some, battle wounds, and maybe I can help him out a little bit. And so I messaged him, and then I said, email me when you come out to LA, and he did. And I said, I'll take you to lunch. So we go to Taco Bell because that's all I can afford. And, and we're talking, and we needed somebody at Coffee Sound. So, and he's like, I could tell right away. I'm like, this dude's, he's pretty smart. He's got it together. Yeah. So we needed someone at Coffee Sound, and I was like, yeah, John, I know a guy. He's fresh out of school, quick learner, seems to know his stuff. And so John interviewed him and hired him, and we were co-workers there. And he just really took to it and was it's a funny thing. He was like, he wanted to do the same thing I was doing. He wanted to do sound design. He had his home studio and was working on shorts, but then just got pulled into the production world. And he just really managed to like take off and really flourish and do really well with what he's doing, as a utility and stuff. But I really like it. We're good buds, and I'm really happy to. I think they have a baby now. Yeah, no, they had it 2 months ago. Oh wow, I'm behind.
Yeah, I think if I remember on my social media, but yeah.
Yeah, I got to pay closer attention.
Yeah, I know it's hard to keep up, my friend.
Yeah, man. Dude, like IMDb, you've got 109 credits.
Yeah,
that's insane. Like even from 1990. I mean, how do you?
Yeah, probably.
That's like.
well, I think that's. Is that film credits or everything?
It just says filmography, like sound department. It doesn't. Yeah. I mean, there's like this is basically TV, and you've got some episodics in here, but it's mostly features.
Yeah, I want to say completed features. I've probably done right at 100. Now I don't count second units or things like that, but films that I did, their main production sound, I think I've done right at about 100.
Like, they're averaging like what 3 to 6 months on production time?
Yeah, depending on the size of the show. I mean, the current one, I think we're 70 something days. The next one I'm going to do is 49 days. I did a comedy earlier this year that was 40 days of shooting. So yeah.
Wow. I'm looking through this list, and I'm like. So a lot of this stuff I know, some of it I don't know. And to me,
the early stuff I'm sure you don't know.
No,
Action International Pictures. What an outstanding, world-renowned studio.
But I'm like, oh, dude, you were second unit on Super Mario Brothers in 1993, but still,
that's a great story. So they wanted me to come up for a couple of days. Actually, I think they called Mary Alice. Mary Alice couldn't do it. Mary said, "You want to go up?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go up." So we went up to Wilmington, North Carolina, and I was only going up for a couple of days. I stayed for 8 weeks.
Wow. Yeah.
And Richard Van Dyke was the mixer on main unit.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man, how do you remember all this? Like the Future Zone, like you remembered all these details from a show from But there's one in here that sticks out, because I'm a big fan of movies that are really good, but they fly under the radar. Like there was a movie that called Moon. I don't know if you've seen that with Sam Rockwell.
No, I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it, Dave.
It's one of those that everybody that has seen it has gone, how come he doesn't have an Oscar for his performance in that?
Right.
It's an amazing movie. It's like the best movie nobody has ever seen. But there's one in here. You worked on The Crazies.
Oh yeah.
Which is one of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah. It was a remake, but yeah.
Yeah. That is, was there were you guys actually in Iowa when you did that? Because it takes place in Iowa.
We shot it in South Georgia, and we went up to Iowa. I want to say for 3 or 4 weeks or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is one that I like. If you're into scary movies and it's kind of zombie movie, but not zombie movie.
Yeah. No, good story. Yeah.
Timothy Olyphant's in it, but I love that movie. I really, I love scary movies. I got my wife into scary movies. I'm trying to get her Like, hey, let's like have your parents watch The Boys and we'll go see it.
Oh yeah, that's tearing up the box office this weekend.
Yeah. And I'm seeing like some mixed reviews on it, but I'm like, man, it's it. I gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to try and get to go see it. But
but then let's see, what was the other kind of cult classic I did? Basket Case 3.
That one I don't know.
Yeah, they did the series of Basket Case a long time ago, but that was a kind of a cult following.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What did you relate? Never mind.
I don't know it. There's so many, dude. You have so many here. Like, I don't know. I mean, there it is. Okay. Back in 91.
Yeah. Then I worked under Bobby Anderson and Pud Kuzak, who's a mixer now, and a friend. We did My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Is she in LA or is she out there?
Pud's wherever they hire, but she's Texas based.
Mm. Okay.
I want to say Austin, but anyway, but she's based out of Texas. But she's doing a lot of work with. She's doing a lot of work with wherever the production is. I mean, she's a mixer in demand. Does great.
Yeah, she's really cool. I got to, and whenever she was out in LA when I was living out there and doing stuff, I would, do the, John's like, Dave, go take the Diva 2 and try and get Put to buy it. So,
yeah.
I was visiting her on like Pick of Destiny and the Lemony Snickets.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I always love, I'm one of those people. I watch film credits through the sound team to see who I know and who I don't know and all that stuff. But yeah, man.
What other credits do you want to ask me about?
Well, like The Accountant, Ben Affleck has this kind of persona of, I've run into him in public a couple of times when I lived out there, when I lived out in California.
Yeah, but I've worked with Ben a lot over my career.
I've kind of been like, I don't want to like, I don't know how much detail I want to go, but it's just like, some of the things people say are true, some of them are not, and but
he's fine.
Yeah.
When he was younger, when we were doing Dogma, I think they got pretty excited when him and Matt Damon won the Academy Award for Will Hunting. But they, everybody was young back then and whatnot. But the last 7 or 8 years, a couple of times I've worked with Ben and also on the Academy. It's fine. Yeah.
No, he was really good. I liked him in The Accountant.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
That turned out to be a really good story. Gavin, the director, did a great job with that.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
It was not predictable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I of course, like, do you remember when Brenda and I came out to visit you and this is a story I tell and some people don't believe me.
What?
When we came out to visit you on Anchorman 2.
Right.
At SeaWorld.
At SeaWorld, yeah.
And
Don Sufel was booming and Ben Wienert was doing utility. Yeah, it was great. I had a great team.
And but we were sitting there at the dolphin enclosure, like they were down there by the actual enclosure, and where you were set up, and Brendan and I were sitting.
Oh, I was way around the corner.
You were around the corner, like where the entrance to the enclosure is. So we could see Don down there, and we could see what they were doing. And then behind us were these barricades to keep people, because the park was open.
Yeah.
So it was like the police barricades that, just to keep people from not just wandering in, because it'd be easy just to wander on if you didn't know. But that was back when I was like, my beard was a little bit fuller, and I was wearing shades, and the Hangover movies were really a thing. And do you remember you were like, Dave, turn around? Can we turn around? And there was this big crowd of people there, and they were like,
they had their cameras out, yeah.
You're like, they think you're Zach.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
You had on those big mirrored shades or those big shades, whatever the pilots or whatever you had on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had the cameras out too.
Yeah, and they were like, oh no, like crap, we're gonna have to have security. You know, and I always feel bad telling people, no, I'm not that guy. And I've had people say, yes, you are. Like, I don't even sound like, but yeah, you seem to always be working on a lot of fun stuff, which is, you know, I guess that's kind of the point. So, yeah. All right, man. Well,
any other questions? Any other credits?
Wait a minute. Did I see Black Hawk Down in here?
I can't take really credit for that.
Yeah, it says
I did additional photography in Los Angeles, but I did get to work with Sam Shepard that week.
Oh, okay.
And of course, Ridley was directing. I got to meet Ridley Scott, which to me was one of those times that I almost couldn't speak. I mean, I don't get nervous around actors, but Ridley Scott was, in my world, one of my heroes. Blade Runner, Aliens. I mean, you know, go on and on with Ridley. Right. And just somebody I truly respected. Especially, I'm one of those Blade Runner geeks. You know.
Yeah.
You know, definitely in my top 5 of all films and all that kind of stuff. And so it was a big deal. And he came over and introduced himself to me.
Oh, wow.
I was just almost tongue-tied because I was still a little young back then. And so that was really cool. And he ate with the crew at lunch. And I sat by him, and I'm assuming she was his wife, a young lady. And, you know, great conversation and everything. Lovely man. And but here's my funny story. This was when we had changed Comtex from the old Comtex that you just plugged in and they would come on. What model was that?
The PR72s?
The 72s. And I guess that's what he had been used to. And so we now had the newer version with the on and off switch. And he came over to me and he goes, I can't hear anything. These aren't working. I said, oh, I'm sorry, Ridley. You have to turn them on. Oh, okay. That was my little Ridley Scott story. And he was so lovely when we finished because we got wrapped early because we did like 5 days of shooting. We got wrapped early. They were just doing some inserts and stuff. And, you know, he actually came out to us and thanked us, shook me and my boom operator's hand and, you know, thanks for the work. And that really meant the most to me. But as far as credits, I can't take any credit for all the work that I'm going to go blank on who the British fixer was. Right now,
I could look. Yeah, it says like, you know, uncredited, you know, sound mixer Los Angeles for you.
Yeah,
but
it was 5 days of work, and there have been people that have tried to play that as one of my credits. You know, when I've spoken at somewhere, something that's like, no, do not do that, please.
Oh yeah, well, they're like, Whit Norris, sound mixer on.
No, I've actually had to talk that down.
Yeah.
You know, I've got enough other credits. You don't have to worry about that one. I you know, like I said, I did 5 days on it. And early in my career, yeah, that was a big thing to be able to put on my resume. I mean, I probably ought to just take it off.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that worked on this.
Yeah. I want to say it was
big post job.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, with all that gunfire. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an incredible like feat of like logistical movie making. I mean, everything going on in that.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, that's why, you know, I look at like, you know, we were talking about Ant-Man earlier and all that. And when you're dealing with the fast movies and it's like dealing with all the car logistics and it's like that kind of stuff fascinates me. It's like, how do they, you know, you got to sit down and figure out how many cars you're going to need, all that stuff. It's just, you know, and I just find it fascinating. People don't realize because you talk to people who aren't in the industry and you tell them about, oh yeah, like even the little things that I've done, like, you know, video game stuff, and they just, you know, they don't know. And you know, they hopefully get a little bit more respect for, you know, what goes into making stuff that entertains them. So, but yeah. There's one White Bitch Down. Oh
yeah, great. All right, this story you'll like, Dave. Okay.
It's a short. It looks like.
Yeah, it's a short. Okay, this was one of the early years of the 48-hour film festivals. Okay. This was in Atlanta. They pulled a great group of us together. I had just gotten back from something. It might have been a Kevin Smith movie in in Los Angeles. And this was a whole new concept, the 48-hour film festival. And working with a lot of people that did mainly commercials, the director, the DP, everybody was kind of commercial based, but I had also done my share of commercials at that time in my career too. So they put us together to do that. And so we did this great short for the 48-hour film festival. You had to draw, which I wasn't involved in. You draw a tag out of the hat. You have to use a certain thing as a prop. You have to use a certain storyline, and et cetera, et cetera. And so, Saturday morning we were off and shooting. And, we shoot all day Saturday. They edit Sunday and turn it in. Well,
jeez.
Yeah. And we kind of had a splinter unit too, doing some stuff. And but it was all very small. And it was funny. We won the festival in Atlanta. Okay, White Bitch Fair. And then we went to the national, which I want to say back at that time was maybe New York, Atlanta, Chicago, LA, and maybe, I'm not sure, a couple other cities. Went to the national, and we won number 1.
Wow.
So it was the number 1 winner of the U.S. 48-hour film festival that year. And after that, I retired. No more 48-hour film festivals. You can't outdo that.
Go out on a high note, right?
Yeah, but it was done really well. It was very done creatively. I mean, not that I had anything to do with that, but it was all the others with the writers and directors and cinematographers. But we got all the sound and did it well. And Greg Crawford, who I'm not sure if you know, you might have met, does post here. He's our big post guy.
Okay, I probably met him.
Yeah, he did post on it, the sound post and everything. But anyway, it turned out really well. But yeah, White Bitch Down, that was it. So when people call me for the 40-hour film festival now I'm retired.
Oh man, that's insane. Like they have to. Are you allowed to have everything written out before like the clock starts?
No, because you don't know what genre you're doing. I mean, you could cast your actors, right? There's certain things you might figure out locations, but you don't know your genre, whether it's going to be a comedy, a thriller. You have to draw all these things, so to speak, out of the hat. And I'm assuming they still do it that way, Dave. I don't know. I'm not involved with that these days.
That's crazy to do it all in 48 hours. That's insane.
Yeah.
Those directors, they just must not sleep for 2 days.
No, they don't for the most part. I mean, I worked my day and went home. I mean,
Oh man. Cool, man. Well, we've been going at this a while. I don't want to, I know you're really busy. You've got doing crazy hours. I don't want to take
I'm a little tired, but man, I wouldn't have traded it for anything to sit here this afternoon and talk with you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate your time. Yeah, hopefully I'll get down. I'm going to try and get down for the Mixer event in November.
First weekend?
Cool. Yeah. And, but yeah. All right, dude. Tell your crew I said hello.
I will.
And, yeah, man. Thanks a lot.
See you, Dave. Thanks.
See ya. Do yourself a favor and subscribe right now, because when you do, you'll get notified when I upload new videos with lots of cool information. Information that I learned from lots of expensive college and years of experience. Only you get it for free. So subscribe right now.